In today's episode, I talk about what to do when your creative work is getting no attention. Welcome to episode 142 of the Honest Entrepreneur Show, where I help creatives like you to master your marketing. My name's Tom Ross, and let's get into it. Guys, I'm feeling definitely good about the content and brand at the minute. I'm trying to be a living example of not becoming stale. I'm mixing things up right now. If you've been paying attention to my Instagram, I've been redesigning and redoing my slideshow format. That has become very saturated as a content format. So I'm also currently putting together the plans and the early stages of entirely new types of content. I want to keep fresh, I want to keep setting the trends, and I don't want to become stale and just start repeating myself forever or doing what everyone else is doing. So watch this space, but as always, watch what I do, not just what I say.
A version of this question was asked by 3 separate people, but Joanna articulated it best. I'm a modern floral artist, and I feel like I'm stuck in a sort of creative purgatory. I've done all the necessary business stuff, and I create all the time. It's the selling and finding my audience I'm struggling with. I can't seem to sell anything. I feel like my prices are fair, but I'm just not hitting my stride. I would really appreciate any tips or insights you might have.
Hey Joanna, and whoever else asked this question. It's a great question. It's a very common question, and it comes back to so many different topics I've touched on in all kinds of episodes on this show. So I'm going to try and wrap up some of those concepts for you and put a nice, neat bow around it. The answer is, I think no matter how talented you are creating watercolor flowers, what you're doing is you're being inherently quite generic in a very saturated market without any kind of targeted marketing. Leave that in Marco. So really, I think what you need to do is kind of just like step back for a sec and audit what you're doing. First of all, you're saying you're getting no sales. Clearly something is broken, something's not working. I predict it's because, as I say, it doesn't matter if they're nice looking flowers. When you see watercolor flowers everywhere and it's something that doesn't exactly get people fired up, it's just like, oh, that's a nice painting of some flowers, then you're going to struggle to actually ship units. You're going to struggle to sell. So I'm a huge fan of trying to niche down. I'm a huge fan of trying to make people feel something, to be expressive. I've alluded to many, many examples on this show, Dina Rodriguez being a recurring character because she's so great, right? She's a talented artist, but she doesn't just put out flowers. She doesn't just put out generic illustrations. She puts out stuff around themes that actually are emotively charged for people, stuff like body positivity, feminism, etc. And I noticed this over and over again. I'm doing a post on this right now for my Instagram about leaning fully into these kinds of emotively charged themes. There's another person in my community who is putting out stuff more about women's rights and feminism as well. And when she starts actually owning that and incorporating that messaging into her work, that's where she really is starting to see some early traction. So I think if you are just putting out flowers, you're going to struggle. I would find a way to get your illustrative and painting talents and apply it to something that you're passionate about that other people are too. And then fully lean into it and don't be lukewarm. So that would be number one. On the back of that, when you hopefully find that theme that you can apply your creative talents to, that will give you so much more clarity and direction with your marketing. So you can start being like, okay, I'm going to give a random example here. Marco, what's a hobby? What's a hobby? One of yours? Just to put you on the spot. This is live, Marco.
Watching a lot of sports.
Okay. What's a hobby that is? All right, we can go with sport.
Yeah.
All right. It's going to be a random example from watercolor flowers, but let's say that something you're passionate about is sport. So you could take your illustration talent and you could start doing pieces of art around sport, stuff that really is like, it could be very resonant with people. It gets them fired up and gets that feeling of when they watch their team. It could be some of their sporting heroes. It could be moments, it could be paintings that capture those moments on the field or whatever. And stuff that people are going to connect with. It's not generic. There's something very unique about it in how you perceive sport. That then becomes a lot easier because you can say, okay, where are these people hanging out? I can go on Instagram and I can see the people who are posting stuff using hashtags of sport. I can check out their profiles. I can see the people that are sport obsessed, but also seem to be aligned by being a little bit creative. And I can start connecting with those people and building relationships. I can get my work reshared by some of these sportsmen and women that I paint. And often celebrities and sports people, they do reshare work. And so that gets in front of their audience. I can use hashtags myself so that people browsing these sporting hashtags start discovering my work. I can try and get people in key audiences to do a sport to reshare because actually they like nice looking posts. And their audience might be used to liking photos and memes around sport. But if you post an illustration of like Messi on a footballing page and it's really well done, people are going to like it and be like, oh, damn, that's awesome. It's the same way Will Smith posts like fan art and stuff like that, and all kinds of celebrities do. So that would be number two. But also, I think you need to stop being scared of marketing. You need to, and this does come, like, it's scary when you're seeing no traction, but it becomes easier when it's like, okay, well, I know who I'm serving. I'm starting to see a better response because I'm putting out work that's less generic. And then from there, you can use that motivation and that fire and that energy to start thinking more about your distribution, start thinking more about like, okay, well, I'm going to reach people in these various ways and I'm going to be pushing my content more and I'm going to up my content game and post more on stories and I'm going to cross promote on all my social platforms. That stuff can come later. But honestly, I think it's going to be like pushing a boulder up a hill. If you just keep doing the same old thing, but try and like push it a little bit harder, it's going to be very difficult. I would pivot. I would try and find that niche and that theme where traction happens more naturally, and then marketing amplifies that and puts it on steroids. So that's what I would do. Question of the day. Do you feel like you're stuck perhaps in a oversaturated generic niche right now? Be honest and let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm really enjoying the YouTube show. If you are too, then be sure to hit the subscribe icon and tick the little bell to get notifications when I post new content on this platform.